What's cracking, folks? It is I, CFK Crew, here to bring you something totally different, something that I have not done before. Well, technically, I have done like a draft before, but I did it in like what SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. I think I might have showed the one that me and my brother did for WWE 2K. Anyways, brand splits. Everyone has known. No one. Blah. Everyone has heard the news, and everyone and their mama and their mama's mama and their baby mama's mamas have already done their own mock draft and their own, opinions on it. So I'm going to just do it too because I want to. Why else could I want to? Anyway, so first of all, I'm incredibly excited about the brand split. I have been a strong proponent of it for a while now. Granted, the reason why is mostly because my favorite memories of wrestling have been watching SmackDown during the mid 2000s, and I've gone back and watched, the first SmackDown and started back from the get go, and SmackDown has had some highs and lows, but I've always been a fan of the blue and white brand. Uh, Maybe I'm just hipster, or maybe SmackDown 6, or maybe, I don't know, CM Punk doing his work back there, or Jeff Hardy's run, or, yeah, I've always liked SmackDown. And that's what I watched. I could catch SmackDown on Friday nights on Sci Fi. Was it Saturday nights? I think it was Friday nights. But, anyways, uh, so I'm going to talk to you about how I would do the brand split. What I hope happens, and yeah, pretty much that. So let's see how well I can do this, considering I haven't done one of these before. First things first, Raw is going to stay 3 hours, which is very unfortunate because I feel like they can't do 3 hours competently. Granted, they can't really do 2 hours Did I say 2 or 3 hours last time? They can't do 3 hours. SmackDown has been 2 hours and they sucked at that. But I believe this is a great opportunity. By separating the rosters, you allow more people lower down the card to actually have something to do instead of the social outcast being just there to job, or the Ascension doing nothing, Jack Swagger doing nothing. You had Sandow and Cody Rhodes doing nothing. They're gone now. Ryback, he's had some issues with some things. I'm saying. Uh, but the brand split, he would have an excellent opportunity to be, elevated. We'll see where things go from here with the actual WWE. Uh, you know, Apparently Vince and Kevin Dunn, bum bum bum, are going to be heavily involved in this SmackDown, which is unfortunate because I feel like they're going to just make it Raw too. Um, but I feel like the pros heavily outweigh the cons because it's being able to keep things fresh is the most important thing in this day and age where we have instant media. We can see everything when we want to see it. We can know everything when we want to know it when it happens. So being able to separate the rosters and having us only exposed to a certain amount of it, per week, keeps everything fresh, keeps our interest high. Because who wants to see, okay, think about this. AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho was a pretty good feud, you know? Uh, but they fought 4 times. And by the third time, I was like, I don't kind of care as much anymore. You guys are just doing the back and forth thing, which everyone hates, 50-50 booking. And I think that's a byproduct of the fact that they have SmackDown, they have to book with everything feud-wise in mind. So they have to make things matter enough to, keep the viewer paying attention, but not matter enough so that it makes, it has to change the plans for the full storyline on Raw, which is unfortunate, very unfortunate. Or granted, AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns, which was, had spectacular main event matches. The problem was we saw the Usos fight the club like 14 times. No one cared anymore. It was boring. It was interesting the first time, okay the second time, third time we've had enough, which is when you end feuds. Like, realistically, I play TW, so I'm of the mindset. If we see the same match 3 times in 6 months, that's too many times. You have a big enough and deep enough roster to diversify. But that's besides the point. Now, on to something that is very debated, heavily debated, is the titles. A lot of people are against having 2 world titles. They say that it makes things confusing. They say it's just outright stupid. The fact that you can't have 2 guys who are supposed to be the guy, right? Well, I have this weird analogy or thought about this. I want 2 titles, 2 top titles, for 3 reasons, I believe. Three. One is if one show does not have the top title, they are the B show. They are the not important show. If you don't have the guy, that's the thing. People get hung up on, like, how is this guy also the guy and this guy's the guy? They both can't be the top guy. Well, they can both be the top guy of their own brand. And who's the top guy in the company? Well, you have 4 pay-per-views that are really big: Survivor Series, SummerSlam, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble. Maybe you should have a champion versus champion battle to see who's the best champion. You know what I'm saying? I feel like having 2 top guys is a great opportunity for cross-brand storylines. To see whose guy is the best guy. Will Roman Reigns beat John Cena? Will Brock Lesnar beat Seth? Yeah, of course. But you know what I'm saying. Another reason why I feel it is incredibly important to have a second top belt is for the talent. Because Roman is not losing the belt anytime soon. And I don't want to see Roman as a face champion. I would love to see him as a heel champion. If he was more of a tweener champion, I'd be more okay with it. Face champion Roman's lame. But I'm stuck with that. That's the only champion we have. Now, if SmackDown were to get its own title, then I should there's many opportunities for other people to get a top spot. And the old SmackDown, during the brand split, like early brand split, the separation of the titles allowed for a second brand to build up talent to main event level. The problem was Raw just snatched the talent afterwards because Vince still thought that Raw was the A show. He needs to treat both shows as equal. Different but equal. Equal via their differences. And let's see, the last reason why I probably should have taken notes instead of just setting up all the scene transitions and then set up my actual draft. Should have probably written notes because I go on and on and on. But if you like this, what's wrong with you? I'm just joking. All right. And third, and probably my most important reason, is that people always focus on prestige. They say that having 2 world titles devalues the title, right? And I'm not sure if that's exactly the case. You see, all right, bring this to football, right? Or basketball, or pretty much most professional sports where they have 2 divisions or 2 conferences, right? I'm going to use NFL as an example. NFL has the AFL, the AFC, NFC, right? And each champion for those divisions go to the Super Bowl. Conferences, not divisions, conferences. Because there is a Super Bowl, that is the only thing that matters. And so the conference championship means nothing. No one cares if you're a conference champion. That means absolutely nothing because there's something above that. No one really cares so much about the U.S. Intercontinental Championships right now. Granted, they're the mid-card titles. They're meant to be a little bit further down to be a stepping stone to get up into the main event stratosphere. Uh, but the only thing that really matters is the world championship. Having two world championships does not mean that they both automatically mean nothing. It just means that it's like if you had two world championships and you had like a Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan championship at the top, then the world champions mean nothing. That's when the world champions get the value. When there's two world champions, you simply have a wider top. It doesn't necessarily mean a lower top. The ceiling isn't lower, it's just wider. There's more room at the top. Like a pyramid is at the pyramid top isn't the point. It's a kind of a plateau a little bit. I might be making nonsense. Anyway, let's go on to the actual belts and how I'll split them up. So, where I would have it, Raw will start out with the WWE Championship. Not the World Heavyweight Championship, the WWE Championship. The World Heavyweight Championship will be split up, back out of it and taken to SmackDown. The Intercontinental Championship, the WWE Tag Team Championships, and the Women's Championship will all stay exclusively on SmackDown. Here's the reason why. Well, World title is obvious. The top title, the brand title, needs to stay on the company. The Intercontinental Championship is not tied to a person so specifically as the United States is. The United States Championship is John Cena's belt. I mean, it is. Unless Kurt Angle came back, it's still John Cena's. And there's no way John Cena is going to be on Raw if Roman is also on Raw. And Roman's going to be on Raw because he's a champion. You know what I'm saying? So the U.S. Championship has to go wherever Cena is, which is going to have to be SmackDown. But also, it allows you to have a more prestigious undercard title. Because the U.S. Championship it means nothing so far unless John Cena has it. So with the Intercontinental Championship, which means a lot because of the people who are fighting for it, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Cesaro, those guys that the internet fans, so to speak, can get behind because Roman Reigns is going to hold the world title. You want to have your second title mean a lot. And the Intercontinental Championship is the one that means the most. Now, for the Tag Team and Women's Championship, a lot of people are for having them float between brands. And I don't like that at all. Because if you have champions floats, which originally the World and Women's Championship floated between shows. And that ended very quickly because it was dumb. Because how can you have a brand split when you have people who are not split? You cannot have people go across shows. The only person who could go across shows is Brock Lesnar because he's Brock Lesnar. Either he won't show up on SmackDown anyway. Put them all on one show. Raw has 3 hours to fill. Give them, and they're going to be more or less the same Raw team that we have right now. Give them the belts to work with because I don't feel confident they can write without the belts. The only thing that has been written well without the belts has been the Golden Truth angle, which has been going on for like 5 months. And for some reason, it's not a bad story. It's a good story. It's a really good undercard story as long as it's consistent. That's the type of writing we probably won't get on SmackDown. It's unfortunate, but keep the titles, tag women on SmackDown. I mean, on Raw. Keep all the women on Raw for now. Because WWE is trying to highlight the women's division, and the best way to do that is to put it on their current flagship show. And for the tag team belts, simply put, New Day is still the most over thing in WWE. Even though they are starting to get stale due to overexposure, hopefully this brand split will help, alleviate that so we don't see them 2 times a week, every week. It's got to get rough to come up with fresh material that often. But you don't put all the tag teams on Raw. Because down the line, well, first of all, tag teams can be pushed individually. Like the members can be pushed individually. For instance, Enzo and Big Cass is going to get a singles belt. It's going to happen. Doesn't mean Enzo, is irrelevant. Doesn't mean you have to break them apart. Or New Day. Big E is going to get a big push at some point. Doesn't mean you have to kick Kofi and Xavier to the curb, because then, instead of having three guys combined at the top of the card, you only have one guy, and then two guys have to drop back down. You don't need to do that. You can pull them all up together. So you can keep tag teams on SmackDown without belts. You know, like they can still do stuff. Like the Dudley Boys, they could be someone's enforcers, some heels enforcers or something. I don't know. They could do something besides just job. Anyway, on SmackDown. Now SmackDown, there are 4 belts there, but they won't start there. Okay, we have the big gold belt, which will be the main title on SmackDown because it looks freaking amazing. And we have the United States Championship, which, Rusev currently holds on to it. He will most likely be going to SmackDown. Those are some good starting belts. You only have 2 hours, and you, from what I understand and what I hope, is that they can write feuds without the belts on SmackDown for long enough until, maybe the end of August. Because end of August, something will be coming to an end, the Cruiserweight Classic. And because of that, there should be an influx of cruiserweights coming into the WWE. And they should debut on SmackDown. Like in the old brand split, where SmackDown had the cruiserweights and Raw had the women's. And with this, you have an additional undercard title so that you can elevate the United States title without having to give the belt to Kalisto. Granted, I like Kalisto. He does some nice flips. I enjoy flips. Flips are cool, man. Flips are 17% radical, 83% radical, man. They're cool. He wasn't ready for the US belt. It was too high, and now it's low again. A cruiserweight belt, though, he can hold to his heart content. And you have an option to give other people an opportunity. Tyler Breeze, Neville, question mark? I don't know, but they got cruiserweights coming in. Give them the cruiserweight belt. I like the cruiserweight belt. Cruiserweights were the best thing about WCW. And finally, we have the World Tag Team Championship, which will come much later. Much, much later. Once SmackDown establishes some actual teams. Or maybe they'll do what they did with the original, brand split, where they introduced it later on in in a tag team tournament, and where you had teams put together. You had Edge and Rey Mysterio. You had Benoit and Angle, who hate each other. It made for some very interesting dynamics. I feel like if they can build up a SmackDown 6 of sorts, they can easily do a tag team tournament without putting the top guy or the US guy on there. Let's just say the top 2 guys are like John Cena and give him Dean, just for example. And have John's world champ, Dean is US champ, or some bullshit like that. And you can have a tournament with 6 other guys. And you can elevate those guys by having them put on great and amazing dynamic matches. So this is how I hope things to go. The Cruiserweight Championship coming in at the end of the summer, with the Cruiserweight Classic coming to an end, and the World Tag Team belts a bit further down the line once, SmackDown has swelled with some people who will get signed. Now, for the actual splitting of the rosters, I have a few things that I wanted to, get started with. Now, realistically, SmackDown is not getting the first pick. Raw is, because it's Raw. It's the flagship show. Who's going to run Raw? Well, it's got to be Steph and Trips. Well, actually, no. going to be Steph. But Triple H is going to have an incredibly minor footprint on the main roster going forward. I believe. Okay, this is. So he signed a performer's contract recently. But he's been off TV for a while ever since he lost Roman. And I feel like he doesn't have a story besides with Seth Rollins. But besides that, he doesn't have a story right now with the main roster. And NXT is going to lose a couple of people soon. You know what I'm saying? So, just my thinking, I think that Triple H is going to wind up wrestling a few matches in NXT to help keep the ship afloat until they build more characters after the call-ups, after the end. So Steph's going to be running Raw by herself. It's 100% Raw. Now, they might bring in somebody to help her out, an enforcer of sorts, or maybe, some backup. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Eric Bischoff come back. That's not spelled Eric. Eric Bischoff come back in some capacity, to help out Steph, with her on-screen GM duties. But she might just do it all by herself. I'm not sure. And for SmackDown, of course, SmackDown's going to be run by Shane. But Shane wasn't slated to stay. He was supposed to show up for one event for WrestleMania. That was it. But he's had such an overwhelming amount of support that he's decided to stick around. But he can't realistically stick around entirely. He has other stuff he has to do. He has money to work with. So he's going to need someone to help out while he is away, doing business stuff, making deals, trying to grow the SmackDown brand. Let's say his stories that he's going abroad, trying to, find the greatest talents to bring to SmackDown, stuff like that. And so, in the meantime, he needs someone to run the show. And if he agrees to, if he wants to, if he's willing, if he's ready, willing, and able to do it, his backup or his sheriff should be Daniel Bryan. Now, I'm certain he enjoys his retirement. Chilling out with Brie in the Hills and now I'm Cezanne. But if he would, like to come back as an on-screen authority figure on SmackDown, that will bring so much energy to the brand that it would be absolutely insane, absolutely crazy. I look incredibly forward to that. It's definitely not going to happen. But hey. Alright, so now we have the top guys. Now, Raw is going to be more or less a similar deal with what they have right now, just hopefully a lot less stale because of, constantly doing the same thing twice a week. Only gotta do it once a week. Granted, if it sucks, it still sucks. But maybe, you split up the writing crew, you get rid of the too many cooks problem. So top guy, of course, is going to be Roman. Not Ronan. Roman the Rainmaker. Simply because he's champion. Which means Shane has to pick the next best guy to, start the brand up with. Big Match John. Let's see who else. SmackDown. Jesus. Raw. I'm going to go for Seth. Then SmackDown goes very high, AJ Styles. So Raw starts out with the core of Roman and Seth, who have, I don't know if they have great chemistry. Roman and AJ have great chemistry. Like their matches have been spectacular. But with Roman and Seth, I feel like that's an interesting dynamic because Seth is the heel with the baby face pops, and Roman's the face with the heel boos, and the move sets are swapped. Now, it's an interesting dynamic, and I hope they can build upon that. Now, you need to bring in the third wheel, but it's not Dean. It's Kevin. Because Kevin Owens is that top level face, heel. and they can really use to push up into the main event stratosphere. He's ready. He is there. Also, Seth owes him one. From that one time several months ago, I didn't forget. I never forget. Yeah. And of course, on SmackDown, we get Dean. So the Shield all go in the top, top 6 picks, top 3 picks for each show. You have to separate Dean entirely from the other two, because Dean has been the one with the who appeared to have the most going for him. I mean, he wasn't the leader of the Shield, but he was de facto the leader of the Shield. He was the one. I don't know. They had a really weird dynamic. The Shield did. But he was the guy. He had the singles push, and since then he's kind of just wavered. He had those great matches with Seth Rollins last year, but outside of that, he's been inconsistent. He's been really bad recently. I mean, the Asylum match was awful. It was trash garbage. Absolutely disgusting. And his feud with Brock, his WrestleMania match was bad. It was just a squash match, and he didn't get any good offense. He didn't even hurt himself really badly with, like, I don't know. I feel like they're making his character wrong. If they separate him, they might be able to do him better. Also, he's getting face pops, but I still see Dean as more natural as a heel. So there's something I'm going to say later that's going to make things make a lot more sense. Because right now, SmackDown has 3 faces, and Raw has, a face and some heels. Next, Raw is going to get The Miz. He's the Intercontinental Champion. He's a great heel. The most natural heel the company has, more or less. Because he's just such a prick. You just want to punch him in the face. And I love The Miz. I think The Miz is awesome. Always have. Always will. Jeez, I'm sorry. But they need him around there with that Intercontinental title and along with Maurice. Because they're a great pair. And then SmackDown goes ahead and gets the show off, Dolph. This is the opportunity to finally right the ship with Dolph. He's been super overexposed. I think he's had the most matches of anyone in the company on television since he debuted. He's a workhorse. He puts in the work. He needs to do something constructive. And with a smaller roster, there's a higher probability that he's going to be put into storylines that don't suck. Because he's been in storylines that suck. Because that Rusev Lana thing was career suicide. It was awful. And last but not least in our top 5, which all I'm going to do is top 5, then I'll port over what my full draft looks like. Throughout the top 5, Raw is going to get Sheamus. Sheamus is boring. 100%. He's just boring. He's not interesting to watch. I mean, when he bruises, it's kind of interesting how, the red splotches everywhere. But besides that, he's been overexposed as well. But I feel like there's an interesting dynamic to be had on Raw. Right now, he is, one of the more, storied heels. One of the more established heels on the roster. And I feel like they need him on Raw to help compensate for the fact that some pretty good guys will be going over to SmackDown, and they need someone to beat up on Raw, right? I mean, Roman can't beat him up. But anyway, you see Roman has 4 heels on Raw. Seth, Kevin, The Miz, and Sheamus. Because you need to have Roman beat guys up. I mean, everyone has to be buried by the Anoa'i machine. But there's more people that will be later on the show that will help with there's a lot of heels. There's the people who are lower on the card who's going to get some feuds with some higher guys to help establish themselves. And finally on SmackDown, last, the top person, well, not person, is the last top group, is not the Wyatts. It is the Balor Club. Because Finn Balor has to come up. Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson need to pair with Finn so they don't look bad. And you need the Balor Club to be a top dominant heel faction. Granted, they're going to get cheers, but I think in today's modern wrestling society, you really do just want reactions. I know people hate Roman, but he's getting so much booze that's still positive. I don't like it. I'd rather him be a heel so I can boo him and be, proper like. But hey, I don't need to be traditional anymore. It's a new age. Everything is developing. The Balor Club will be touted as faces, but they're going to be heels. They'll feud with Cena, and they might not get fed to Cena. They'll feud with AJ. They'll beat AJ probably, but not before AJ gets, a win over somebody. And I feel like the Balor Club could be a dominant heel faction on SmackDown, given enough time, which would be even better if they were to get an additional member who goes by the name of Dean Ambrose. I feel like the Balor Club, Finn's a decent speaker. He's okay, but he's got the accent, and Vince doesn't like accents. So I feel like if Dean is willing to, they're going to try to put Dean into the Balor Club. He kind of visually fits the group, and he's good on the mic. People say he's not. He's good on the mic. Y'all lying to y'all goddamn selves, nigga. Check yourself for y'all wreck yourselves. Dean's good on the mic. Give him to the Balor Club to help them, establish themselves as higher guys. Upper mid card heel up to the main event once they do something drastic like murder John Cena. Not Dolph, not AJ. They need help. All right. Now I'm going to move on to the final. All right. So here we have Raw, more or less in its finality, SmackDown, and NXT developmental and people in negotiations. So I haven't pulled a whole bunch of NXT people over besides Finn, because Finn has to come up right now. Other people I might or I will bring up include Shinsuke Nakamura, Austin Aries, and I'll put Bobby Roode on the main roster when he comes up straight away. Roode will go to SmackDown. Austin Aries will go to SmackDown for the Cruiserweights. And Shinsuke Nakamura will also go to SmackDown. Now, putting all those big names to SmackDown straight away, you feel like that's going to hurt Raw because Raw doesn't have as many, new faces. But Raw is kind of the maintaining the old guard show. The McMahon that everyone hates is still in charge. Roman's still the champion. Sheamus is still around for always. New Day, be kicking it up old school. Know what I'm saying on SmackDown. And there are a bunch of established guys that will still be there. Randy Orton going to be on Raw. Big Show, who won't retire. Chris Jericho. A lot of established people. Now in the future, a lot more NXT people will be going to Raw. And once they start to sign international and indie talents like that to put them on the main shows, then they'll go on Raw and SmackDown spread evenly. SmackDown needs the firepower, right? They have Del Rio, the Balor Club. They have Sammy, but not Kevin Owens, because you have to split them up, or else you'll burn the feud out. Because WWE can't keep long feuds going anymore. They couldn't keep Cena versus The Rock going. Granted, it was Cena and The Rock that fizzled out. But you have Alberto Del Rio on SmackDown as one of the more dominant heels. Rusev with the United States Championship gets an opportunity to show what he's worth. Baron Corbin gets time to develop. He has less of a spotlight, so he can do his thing without ruining himself. The Social Outcasts might have an opportunity to actually do something. The Shining Stars is still going to suck, but hey. Darren Young will be great again. The Wyatts can turn face whenever they want to. And they could feud with the heel Balor Club. and that's money. You can't tell me that's not money, because I already bought tickets to that WrestleMania, which has not happened, and it might not happen, but whatever. The Dudley Boys are the top heel tag team. Matter of fact, the most tag teams who are heels. The Ascension, the Shining Stars, the Vaudevillains, the Social Outcasts, and Dudley Boys. But there's no title here. They're mostly meant for storyline purposes. You can have a tag team feud with a single star. You know, SmackDown will be the tag team show. Like, they could bring back, Tay Long and say, tonight's match is going to be a tag team main event featuring John Cena and The Undertaker. Player. All right. I had to do that. Sorry about that. So you can have some interesting things with tag teams on SmackDown. They'll still have tag team matches, just no title. Let them work on their crafts. Let the Lucha Dragons split up, keep them together, do what you want. Ascension, maybe they can actually have an impact. Maybe they'll feud with, I don't know, Swagger. That's a boring feud. I don't know. You have to have some job guys. And all the women will be on Raw because you'll give them more focus. You concentrate what they have and, hopefully promote it. When people start coming up, they'll come up on both brands. But overall, this is how I see how it should happen. The titles that should be in place. The World Heavyweight United States Unified Tag will be on Raw, and they'll split into WWE World Tag. World Tag will be on SmackDown. And then you have women's on Raw, Cruiserweight on SmackDown. The top guys on SmackDown being Cena, Styles, Ambrose, Ziggler, the Balor Club, Sami Zayn, the Dudleys, Del Rio, Rusev, yada yada yada, the Wyatts, and then Raw having more established people with Roman, Rollins, Sheamus, New Day, Kevin Owens coming up, Jericho, Randy, and the Big Show. But you have some lower card guys of Apollo. Zack Ryder might give an opportunity. The Usos are around. Keep them around because we hate them regardless. So keep them with Reigns so we can hate them together as a conglomerate. Maybe even put Naomi and Tamina into the bloodline. Make it like a big faction. I like factions. Faction War is the coolest thing about the Attitude Era. Shut up. I know it's a very bold statement, but I stick to it. So yeah, that's my brand split, my thought processes going into the brand split, how I hope things will turn out, and some other bullshit. So yeah, thanks for watching, folks. This has been a long video of me talking nonstop, and hopefully it was entertaining to somebody. Also, Vince, leave SmackDown alone. Let someone else be involved. Also, you too, Kevin. Not Owens. Done. All right. Thanks for watching, folks. And peace.